Have you ever been going about your day, you see a problem, and you just think to yourself, someone should really fix that? Well, today, we're looking at the roadmap for becoming that someone. We're diving into the world of social entrepreneurship, that whole journey from a powerful idea to real, tangible impact. Now, our guide for this whole process is the curriculum from the Flying Wings online school. They've put together this really practical framework, and it's all designed to turn passionate people into effective change makers. So let's break down how they do it.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You see something wrong in your community, or maybe you see it on the news, and you get that spark. Maybe it's frustration, maybe it's inspiration, but you think, someone has to do something about this.
Well, this is all about how you can become that someone. We're going to walk through the exact steps that can take that initial thought and transform it into a real, sustainable venture that actually makes a difference.
Okay, first things first. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. What are we really talking about when we say social entrepreneurship? This is the foundation, the spark that really ignites the entire journey.
So at its core, it's all about using business tools. Things like innovation, solid planning, being efficient. But you're not just aiming for profit. You're using them to create solutions for social or environmental problems that can last. It's about building something that can support itself while doing good in the world. And here's where it gets really interesting. A traditional entrepreneur, they might spot a market gap, right? Like, hey, we need a new streaming service. But a social entrepreneur, they're looking at a social problem, something fundamental, like kids not having access to education or communities facing food insecurity. The goal isn't just about convenience. It's about trying to create real systemic change. So you know you want to tackle a social problem. But how do you find the right one? And how do you turn that into an idea that can actually work? Well, that brings us to the first big, active stage of the journey, finding your big idea. And here it is, the whole roadmap, the big picture, from start to finish. And you can see it's a really clear, logical path. You don't just jump straight to a solution. You start by deeply understanding a problem. Then you design an idea, build a simple version of it, test it out in the real world, and only then do you start planning for that big, long-term impact. See how each step just builds on the last one? And this isn't just fluffy theory either. To get from that problem to a solid idea, you're using a specific set of tools. You're not just guessing, you're basically an investigator. You're mapping out everyone involved, you're digging for the real root of the issue with techniques like the 5 whys, and you're doing empathy interviews to really get what the community you want to serve actually needs. Okay, so you've done all your homework, you've refined your idea. Now comes the really fun part, making it real. This next phase is all about taking that concept out of your head and actually putting it out into the world. So, a super crucial concept here is the minimum viable product, or MVP. And listen, this is not about building some perfect, polished, final thing. Not at all. The whole goal is to create the most basic, functional version of your solution so you can get it into the hands of real people and start learning from them as fast as possible. It's all about learning, not launching. And you guessed it, there are specific tools for this too. The Social Business Model Canvas helps you map out exactly how your venture is going to work and sustain itself. Lean startup principles keep you focused on that fast cycle of building, measuring, and learning. And tools like storyboards or service blueprints, they help you visualize exactly how your solution is going to play out. All right, you've got your prototype. You think it's a great idea, but does it actually work? Will people actually use it? This next stage is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you find out if your big idea can survive its first contact with reality. And this right here is a huge mental shift. Up until this point, your whole idea is based on assumptions, things you think are true. This validation phase is all about replacing those assumptions with cold, hard facts. It's about getting real-world evidence from real people to prove that your solution is not only wanted, but that it's actually effective. So what does that actually look like? Well, you design and run a small-scale pilot program. You meticulously collect data, and not just on whether people like it, but on whether it's having the social impact you wanted it to have. Then you take all that feedback, all that data, and you use it to make your entire model stronger and better. Okay, you've identified a problem, you've designed a solution, you've built a prototype, and you've proven that it works. You are ready. This final stage is all about getting ready for a sustainable launch and planning for that long-term, scalable impact. This is where you start tackling the really big strategic questions. How are you going to fund this whole thing? Are you going to rely on grants, look for impact investors, or generate your own revenue? How do you grow your impact without losing sight of your mission? You'll create something called a theory of change to map out exactly how your work leads to your goals, and you set up systems to track that progress over time. And you can see how this practical, hands-on approach is baked right into the learning process itself. The assessment isn't some final exam where you memorize facts. The assessment is the work. Your grade literally comes from analyzing a problem, designing a solution, and building a business model. It is learning by doing, from the very beginning to the very end.
You know, this quote from the syllabus really just nails it. This isn't about charity, and it's not about traditional profit-first business either. The whole philosophy here is that you can build a successful, sustainable organization because of its social mission, not in spite of it. The two go hand in hand.
And just look at the kinds of massive challenges you could apply this roadmap to. These aren't small things. We're talking about some of the most important issues of our time. This framework gives you a credible path to start making a real dent in any one of them.
So there you have it, the blueprint, a clear 5-step journey that takes you from just a thought to a real, sustainable social venture. The only question left is the one that got us started in the first place. What problem will you choose to solve?